Hello, hello.
Hello.
The day after Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
This is
We are back.
Think Lab podcast number 9. You'll see
I
that
know.
Dominic is back from Florida. Mike leaves
Super.
Do I
tomorrow.
do I look any more tan than I when I
No,
left?
You look a little sunburned, actually, for an Italian guy.
Yeah, my nose is
windburn.
starting to peel, but that's about it.
Yeah, windburned from being in the Arctic.
Windburn. That's probably just bring the firewood in.
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
Oh, you weren't in Florida?
I
No, he.
was. No, I was. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, David, yesterday was your National American holiday.
Oh, I feel
I didn't,
rested.
I didn't even dare text you a question, but I think I just said Happy Super Bowl Day.
I know we were in the middle of, I don't even know what round of food we were on when you called. I think maybe just cheese and crackers. I don't, and summer sausage. I don't remember where we were in the activity. So,
We made the most delicious dip out of the grossest ingredients, and I know it's terrible for my body, but it tastes so good. Melted Velveeta and Rotel. I don't care. Come at me.
we had something similar. We had absolutely, we do cream cheese, Rotel, and Jimmy Dean.
See, that's probably healthier because it's a real product. It's not turning into plastic inside your body as you sit here.
Well,
How,
Dominic will
how
show
many
you.
wings did you eat?
Me?
Yeah.
7 or 8. It was funny because like before kickoff, Bear was almost asleep on the couch. I was like, "You awake?" He goes, "I think I'm in a food coma." So, I
Well,
think
after
he
the
ate
after
more.
the diaper dip, I made pasta carbonara.
That sounds good.
That does sound good.
So
Dominic,
Yeah.
did other than showing houses, did you have any Super Bowl foods?
I we had some. My wife makes these homemade jalapeno, like stuffed jalapeno poppers, and
Oh,
we
nice.
had
yummy.
about a dozen of those, and yeah, that was a nice yummy treat.
So
And
the
half my
best,
kids don't
that's funny.
it.
Best part about today, though,
Mm.
Seahawks are in first place for next year.
Hope springs eternal, right?
Yeah.
Thought the
Oh,
Vikings were in first place for next year. We got
well, they're
Coach of the
tied.
Year. We got Coach of the Year.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Where's hang the banner?
Yeah.
He got
Anyway.
Coach of the Year.
All right. So we're
Let's
gonna
get
keep
busy on this
we're
business.
gonna keep up with the Super Bowl theme. Dominic had a great topic. Dominic hears a lot, tells a lot, hears a lot, says a lot. That Super Bowl is the kickoff to
The spring
um,
market.
the spring market. Agree or disagree, and why? Michael
I
Stan, go.
I agree. I got an offer yesterday for a piece of property, and yeah, Super Bowl is the official slash unofficial start to the spring market in Minnesota. I
Why?
agree 100%.
Why?
Football's over. Um, you know, it starts to kind of feel a little less frigid around latter February. February short. March just sounds like spring, even though we're probably going to get 30 inches of snow. I don't know. I think it's all psychological.
I feel like it's like the last holiday. Like, everyone's, we're past Christmas and New Year's, but it's like one more holiday for people to kind of celebrate before they have to like get back to doing anything serious.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree. I mean,
my social media feed was the Yankees are doing batting practice today.
Pitchers and catchers report.
Yeah, so it's
mhm.
like baseball and spring break and
It
everything
just
else,
is.
and
It just,
Easter.
yeah, I
Little
don't know.
known fact about me, I am a fantasy baseball nerd. I've been playing competitively for a number of years, so I get deep into the baseball.
Like a competitive fantasy player, or are you a player too?
I wish I had the physical skills and athletic ability to play for real, but no, it's just fantasy based.
That's awesome. I think that's
Yeah,
amazing.
What
yeah.
does that cost you a year?
A couple $100. Yeah,
And it's a couple $100 worth of great fun.
that's right. Gives me something to do to pass those cold winter nights doing my research, getting ready for draft.
Okay.
Interesting. I don't know if I think the Super Bowl with real estate is one of those things. I listen to a bunch of podcasts and they were saying that if any agent says that they aren't worth their weight in quality saying that it's the Super Bowl. I
I
think
think that's a I don't know. I think that's a little harsh.
Well, I think it also is for us. I think those agents probably aren't in the hinterlands. I think, if you're if
Oh, because you guys are
warmer.
hinterlands and I'm in the middle of
No,
Satay.
no, no, no. I'm agreeing with you that I think when it's easy to be an agent where your sun and warmth year round, the Super Bowl probably isn't a psychological event like you said. I think
Hmm.
the fact here, typically, um, maybe not the last two winters, that it is kind of a fork in the road. It's kind of the downhill, like spring is coming. We have to start thinking about spring break for school, whatever. And I think it is the start of a mental trigger for us in the cold environment versus agents that are in LA or Florida or somewhere that's doesn't get snow on a regular basis. So,
Hey, even February sounds better than November, December, January. I mean, it's a cold environment thought. But hey, yesterday I got an offer on a piece of property and I'm like, yay, here we go. Let's roll.
oh, nice baseball analogy there.
I did that
Yeah,
for
I had
Tom.
a showing yesterday. We had to trudge through about a foot of snow down about a 600 to 800 foot long driveway to get to a place. But yeah, it felt like I've got a couple calls on some other listings I've got, and activity starting to pick up. It seems so. Yeah, I don't know if the Super Bowl thing is true or not, but I think it's a interesting benchmark.
Yeah, I have a listing appointment on Wednesday and here in the metro. And yeah, so um I watched an interesting thing over the weekend and it was talking about attention spans and talked about how social media, reels, TikTok, stuff like that, that the duration of the videos that are allowed on social media and all the tests that people are doing, like when they lose their attention span basically coincide with the slot machines in Vegas, that it's the same amount of time that it takes somebody to pull the lever, have the little wheels go around, and take your money. And I thought that was very interesting and wondered, do you guys have a thought of how do we in this industry where we try to preach professionalism, that if you're selling your house, this might be the biggest transaction that you are a part of. If you're a buyer, this is going to maybe be the biggest debt that you roll into. How do we preach our industry, not us, our industry, if everyone's doing TikTok reels where they're doing 4-second funny things about a house? Is that a detriment to the industry? Like a lot of people feel like HGTV, $1 million listing, that, it looks easy. But how do we preach professionalism if the attention span is the spin of a roulette wheel or a slot machine?
It's a good question. I think about like I don't know. Sometimes I think about my own self. Like I don't always feel like I want to be that 4 second content creator. Well, I like long form like this, sitting down and having a conversation. And I know that's not for everybody, but I feel like we do. You talk about attention spans. There is more long form content now that's out for people to consume, and I feel like they do that in addition to some of the shorter stuff. So I feel like there is an opportunity for us to have a more professional conversation in a more long form kind of format like this. But I think that we're in an age now where if you can memes are I don't know. I feel like memes are not enough, but I think there can be a lot communicated in a really concise way if you do it creatively and do it really well, where you can maybe maintain some of that level of professionalism by using new forms of communication. So maybe there's a blend there where I don't think it can all live in that short form, but I think you can. I think about like if you're driving by the car dealership and there's the big wavy guy with his hands in the air. It's to grab your attention to kind of bring you in to have more of a lengthy conversation. So those could be those attention grabbers to kind of catch your eye. But I think it's the goal would be to then really kind of get into what how can I actually service you as a client, or from an industry perspective, how can we help inform you or educate you? So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Mikal?
I think that they are mutually exclusive. And I don't think that I would agree with conflating professionalism with a 30-second TikTok reel or Facebook reel or Instagram story. And the reason why I say that is because I think it's marketing and I think it's a way to attract attention for to break through the noise of different realtors and have them kind of learn who your personality is. I mean, I think I do a lot of social media and I do some silly things. I do some serious things. I do some house tours. I do some personal things. And that's just really to just for people to kind of get to know who I am. When it comes time to actually meeting with the person, whether it's for a buyer consultation or a listing presentation, I that's where my professionalism is turned on. I don't act like that silly TikTok dancer. I don't come dancing into the room. I mean, I think the professionalism is in the presentation with the person, with the buyer agreement, the buyer representation, agency. But I do think that there's a very important role to attract attention with social media. And, our attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and that's just the way it is. And Instagram allows 90 seconds. And so when I did my listing video for the piece of land over in Wisconsin, I told the photographer it can't be more than 90 seconds. And there we go. That's my opinion.
Is there a format or a style of social media that catches your eye? Because like for me, I find myself, I was thinking about this after I saw this interview. I like seeing the deal. I like seeing the guy in the car dealership trying to figure out if whoever's buying the car can't afford it. So like the sales person comes into the financing guy's office. He has a camera set up. You only see him. And they're like, oh, we have a person who wants to buy a car. They have a trade-in of X. This is their score. Can they afford this car? And what are the monthly payments? I like those. I like there's a
Kind
real
of like that commercial last night when the person walks into the Mercedes dealership and said zero down, 499 a month, and the lady drove her to the Honda dealership. Wasn't that a good commercial?
I don't know if I saw that one.
I don't think I
Yeah,
saw that one either.
yeah.
Huh.
What can I get for 499 a month? Zero down. The lady said, "Come with me." Drove her to the Honda dealership and let her out.
It is funny. I find myself there's a realtor that his social media posts are all of him answering calls from agents where they're working on the deal. There was one where he was supposed to have a closing today or whatever day the video was shot, and he's at the steering wheel, and the other agent calls and says, "Oh, we need to do an amendment to push closing back 8 days." And he's like, "Well, why?" Because we're not clear to close. Why? Because they can't approve the loan. But why? Like his whole point was he wanted to know why they needed to push the closing back. And the
Hmm.
other agent kept saying, because we're not clear to close. And he's like, I know that. And but I like his videos because it's answering the call, and I think his name's Joe. Hey, this is Joe, and it's like, Joe, this is so and so from such and such. You're listing on 123 Elm Street. I have a buyer. They're interested in writing. What can you tell me about it? Well, we have two offers. You're going to need to come in probably over ask. I
Hmm.
find myself liking those.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to figure out if I get into that genre, how do I do that? But for you, like what's on your feeds, Dominic? What's on your like what do you find? Is there a style, whether it's real estate or not, that you seem to pop up?
I think there's two. Yeah. I think most of my feed is like there's a group that I follow out of Utah and another realtor I follow out of Chicago, and they do really high end, like really kind of interesting, edgy listing videos where they're kind of going into the house and they're showing the surrounding property. There's like mountains and ski resorts, and I think those are kind of eye catching, and I like when there's music attached to it. There's a cool new popular song or something kind of edgy. I think those are kind of cool. The other ones that I tend to watch are I think they're more agent to agent based, where it's like I can't remember the guy's name, but he plays like two realtors in these skits, and kind of similar to what you're describing, like kind of going back and forth on a given scenario and kind of making it into a skit or a joke. And I think those are pretty entertaining. I don't know what the value would be to a consumer potentially, but as a realtor, those are just funny for me to watch and get to laugh out of.
Mike, what about you? What kind of comes through your feeds the most?
Well, I think you guys have brought something up, and you might have done it unknowingly in all reality. There's an entertainment factor that's really important. There's an education factor that's really important, and there is a informational type of factor that's really important. And I would follow that guy, the realtor that you said was doing a lot of like agent to agent conversation. Because to me, that falls under kind of the education, informative, and entertaining. Like, but it's really him or her having a real life conversation. Like, okay, cool. Why? Why is it coming up now? It's kind of a back in the day of the life of the realtor situation, like
Right.
pull the veil back that we don't just open doors and walk into pretty houses and make a bunch of money. Um, I also think that there with Dominic explaining his, I mean, that also had entertainment value, but it also had some education value. So in my feed, I like to watch people that number one, it's entertaining. It's not too darn long. I can watch it. I don't like when the feed is constantly the same old drum, the same old thing over and over again. If it's just real estate 24/7, I'm not really into those. I like it when there's a mix of, the person being a realtor, the person, showing B-roll with this, with their children, the person maybe having to answer a phone and pull out their computer when they're on a pontoon on a lake because that happens. Um, the feeds that I dislike, and I just like them vehemently, are when people post things like, "Oh, look what I saw in this house today," and then they post this really, picture of some really super outdated kitchen. I think that's tacky. Because what if somebody sees it and it's their house? I just don't like that. And I really, really, really despise the posts where it's like, everything that I need to do to make my money and yada, 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 wine, 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 wine. I don't like those posts. Um,
But
so my
why did
feed
we
is
as so sorry to interrupt, but why do we as realtors think that people care? For example,
exactly,
for
exactly.
example, if you're going to go buy a new car, whatever, Mercedes or whatever
Hmm.
the commercial was that you said they drove them to the Honda.
Hmm.
Not like we go there and go, okay, I'm going to look at this Mercedes, and then you get their business card and go, okay, whatever, Joe Smith. It's not like you go, it's not like you run to social media, or maybe people do. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old, but I don't go and grab Joe Smith's card from Mercedes and go and find him or her on Instagram or Facebook. But yet, do we as realtors think that people do that? Or like it's such a salesperson slime ball, and
You
who is
know,
making it to? Who is
this is super interesting that you brought that up because, I'm an older guy. I'm 60. I'll be 61 in March. I have business cards, but I'm
oh, birthday
also
plug. Make a note, Dominic. We got to send him a cake.
Yeah,
Make
get the
that's
sure he
right.
gift.
needs it. Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
my birthday.
send me a year subscription to social media training. No, but the thing is
Or
I had I, I had lunch with some younger realtors and a younger lender. None of those younger people, and I mean, they are in their mid to late 20s, okay? They're not children, they're like young adults. None of them had a business card. They all said, we don't do that. We just friend each other or we follow each other on Instagram and we send each other DMs. Or they might, seriously, it was absolutely crazy. So, um, I have been learning to use social media as a way to um, compete with the younger people because that's kind of where it's going. Um, and I've been trying my hardest to follow the informational, educational, entertainment genre. I get a lot of grief about it. Um, but like I said in an episode weeks ago, when I posted a video of that really awesome property that I had in Red Wing, and I was not allowed to put a sign on the property, I got a phone call from the people that wanted to buy the property. And when I got there, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy in the video." And I said,
Right.
"Well, yeah, I am the guy in the video." So they saw that property online, they saw my video, they knew it was me. And when I got out of the car, it was the first time I ever experienced a situation where like they kind of know who I am and we've never met. And to me, that was like what social media is about. Um,
Is it table stakes as an agent now that you have to have a social media presence? Do you
I
think?
absolutely think it is. I do. I absolutely think you should have some form of online presence, some form. Um, Because if you get referred to somebody's child, grown child, just because, mom or dad or aunt or uncle said you should use such and such, if they look for you online and there is no information about you at all, I mean, it's not okay in this era anymore. That's just what I've been learning. And I found it to be true, and I thought that was really interesting. So I I've been trying to up my social media game and learn how to add music and learn how to do different things. And it's not for everybody
So,
because
so
you can do it without it too, right? You can.
are those people then that you, I mean, so Dominic, you're the young one of the group. Do you or your friends, when you're out, do you follow, if you're out looking at, I don't know, stuff for the house or play stuff, do you follow influencers on younger kids' toys? Or like, do you use social media? Like, here I was saying, okay, if I'm going to go look at a car, I don't look up that salesperson on social media. Are you, or are people your age and even younger, like who Mike was with, are they looking up stuff on social and trying to find the person?
Um, it depends on. I'm trying to think. Like YouTube, I think is a really powerful platform, right? Because it serves as a search engine. Because if you're looking for specific information, like you said, like maybe about a product, toy for your kid or whatever, I think it's a great way to find a review or demonstration or someone that's doing something. And I may subscribe to someone's channel if I think they've got enough valuable information that I'm gonna want to come back to it. But I don't use it in that way to just blindly follow. Like I don't know, I don't follow a lot of like, influencers online. I'm like a boomer at heart, I guess. Technically, I'm a millennial, but my birthday's in June, and I'm gonna be 40, so birthday plug for me too. Um, but so yeah, I don't know. I sometimes I feel like if I'm being transparent, like I have a little bit of. I'm not naturally like I don't want to post some silly dance on TikTok. Like
No,
that's not my style. But I don't like that. Like I don't like to feel like obligated that I have to do that stuff as a realtor because it's just not natural to me. Again, I like this. I'll post randomly on Facebook's personal stuff too to mix it up. But I don't like the idea of just like trying to reel people in, just being a goofball trying to promote myself. That's not my style, but it works for other people. And so I'm trying to personally find a balance of how do I stay present and not irritate people and not come off like a cheesy slime ball.
So
no,
what
I
would,
hear it. Well, there's one other thing I want to say. It's like social media, there's so many ways you can approach it. And, I agree with Dominic and you. I don't want to quote unquote make a fool out of myself on social media just to get attention. But what I'm learning is that it's necessary because it's been a primary way for me to, you know, be found. It's been a primary way for me to showcase listings, to build my brand awareness. My brokerage, Lake Sotheby's International Realty, has a lot of really, really powerful
plug?
brand assets. Um, Also, it's a way to generate leads. It's a way to it's brand building. It's building your brand,
Yep.
really.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something in the toolkit of, if there's 10 tools, it's definitely one of the tools and it's a really powerful one.
But how is it brand building?
Because In my opinion, I think it's brand building for myself because if I am consistently, not intermittently, but if I'm consistently putting information out on social media, whether it is me answering a phone call like that guy that you talked about, or
Yeah.
whether I'm doing a listing promotion of something that I have that's really unique, or whether I'm doing anything, if I'm doing that consistently, it's just Mike Stanton is a realtor, and it's a way for, I mean, people comment on it. Like I've gotten comments like, "Oh my gosh, you're so fun." Oh my gosh, if it just if somebody asks a random person, "Do you know anybody that I could contact to get, do you know a realtor?" I mean, as silly as it might sound, they might say, "Hey, yeah." I mean, I follow this guy on social media. He's really cool. His name is Mike, and he does this and this and this. And they're going to look it up and they're going to say, I like him or not. But I mean, it's just different. It's just brand.
So, can I ask you a question about one of your posts?
Sure. And they're not all, some of them are silly. So go for
The one Friday or Saturday about the giraffe.
it. Yeah. Why did
So,
I do that?
so Dominic was on vacation. He probably didn't see it. The
Uh-huh.
premise was that throughout the and how long was that, would you say? 15 seconds?
15 seconds. Yeah. Like if you have a stressful day and there's a lot going on, hey, stop, kiss a giraffe.
And so there was this statue. Now, when I saw the giraffe, I want that giraffe for my house. Like I thought it was like for sale or something. But at the end, it's like kiss the giraffe, and I'm going,
Why did he say that?
well, I didn't look at it as that's dumb or that's great. It was more of how did this concept walk us through how that
Why
came about.
why I did that?
No, yeah, like was it a trend? Is it something you're seeing? Are other agents doing that, like kiss the lamp or kiss the doorknob? I don't know. I mean,
No, it wasn't a trend at all. It wasn't
okay.
a trend at all. In fact, what was happening is I was sitting with a friend and we were working on something that wasn't even real estate related. It was something of that I was working on with a side gig that I have. And after about an hour, we had gone through so many things. I said, "Listen, I," and she started getting all stressed out. And I said, "Listen, there's something that I learned when I was in college." And they were like, when you have study time and you're like, you know, you know, if you're studying for 60 minutes, they said you should step away for 5 to 10 minutes, like walk around the library, go outside, whatever. I mean, today maybe they're just gonna go on social media and just whatever, just take a few minutes. And so we got up and we were walking around and I said, and she looked at me, she goes, it's crazy. She goes, I'm actually feeling better. And we were walking past the giraffe and I said, hey, I said, you know what? When you're stressed out and you're working on all this stuff, I'm like, stop and kiss a giraffe. And I go, I think that would be a really funny little stupid little social media thing to do because, and so I'm like, take a picture of me faking like I'm kissing this giraffe. And it was just that random.
Like I said, I didn't think
But
it was
it stuck with you.
it did because I looked at it from a business for a corny description. I
Yeah.
looked at it going,
What
I
did I
don't
say?
I don't get it. Like, how did that come about? And I always just assume that I'm behind the trend. I just assume that somebody, I know not everyone's running around with like it looked like a 5 foot tall giraffe. I mean, that's why giraffes are. What are you doing? Oh, look at Mike taking a call. Oh,
Can you hear it?
yeah. I thought he was taking a call. I was like, oh, apparently, speaking of attention span,
Can you hear that?
yeah,
When you're working hard and need a break, kiss a giraffe.
yeah, I don't, yeah, I get it. It looks like a 5 foot giraffe. And like I said, I want the giraffe. But,
It's
um,
because like when you taught me about little donkey.
right. But that was a little different, I think.
I
But
know.
anyways, I didn't think it was dumb. I didn't think it was stupid. It stuck with me because I've been trying to put it together with this idea of the attention span. Like, how do we capture this? I'm not drawing a parallel to professionalism and kissing a giraffe like I maybe the question was 10 minutes ago, but I just thought it was fascinating. And social media as a whole is one of the topics that I struggle with
Okay.
because I feel like I waste a great amount of time, like everyone else, on it, like consuming it. But I don't think I have a lot of great content ideas. So I was this weekend, even though it was like my one day off, I just spent a lot of time thinking about message and about everything else. And, like the commercials, whatever. I thought it was fascinating. That's all. That I was how
Well,
it all tied
okay,
together.
so let's go to the commercials then. Because I guess now that I've re-listened to that post, I wasn't talking about my side gig. I wasn't talking about real estate. All I said was when you're working hard and feeling stressed out,
Yep.
kiss a giraffe. So that to me was kind of like an educational thing, just in general. If you're having a
Mental health,
stressful
take a
day,
break. Yep.
kiss a giraffe, smell a flower, pet your dog, whatever. So, okay, my favorite commercial yesterday had when you realize there were all these old women that are like grandma age, but back in the 60s or early 70s when they were young teenagers and they were wild or whatever, they were showing clips. So they're in the retirement home and they're playing bingo, and the old grandma gets the bingo and turns around and like flashes the bingo collar. And it was about weather tech mats in your car. And I'm like, that had nothing to do with weather tech, but gosh dang it, I can't stop thinking about weather tech because of the grandma that flashed the bingo collar in the nursing home,
That's
because that's
funny.
friggin' hilarious.
The last thing that I'll tie in maybe with advertising was there's an article, there's a report that comes out after the Super Bowl, and this company studies ads and whatnot, and they talk about what the company spent dollar wise.
Hmm.
And there has been year after year after year, and I forget where the article comes from. It probably won't come out for about 30 days.
And isn't it like millions of dollars for 30 seconds?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was
But
$8 million, I think, for 30
yeah,
seconds.
but the point was how a company, let's just choose Mercedes, right? Because that's who you said earlier, Mike.
Hmm.
Mercedes pays for this ad, however much the 30-second ad costs, they produced it, whatever. Let's just say they're in for 9 million, right?
Hmm.
How they don't tie it into social. They don't tie it into their websites. And they were talking about, like, think of all, and this was their one takeaway from, I think it was 2 years ago. Think of all the companies that are on there for food or beverages, right?
Hmm.
None of those companies, the one year in particular, had anything where you could go to the website and you could print off a coupon. So here they are
Right.
saying, come buy our cereal, come buy our drink, or switch to Coke or Miller or Budweiser. And yet they're not having a follow-up action.
But they know for a fact that that ad is going to increase sales, or they would not spend that money. Don't get me wrong. People are going to go buy
No, but why
WeatherTech
isn't there a
mats.
follow-up? Why isn't there?
Well, who
Why?
knows what they're doing on the backside? But the way I feel is, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm not a marketing guru, but I know from watching successful people like, hey, these are the 7 things you need to know before you put your house on the market. I mean, Cosmo has been using the 7 things you need to know to figure out that your man is cheating on you. It's like that's what these headlines are, attention grabbers. Um, I don't know. I can't explain it either, but I guarantee you, if you go on YouTube and type in WeatherTech granny commercial, it's there.
Right, but isn't that the follow-up with social media? Isn't that the advantage what Dominic was saying before that the Super Bowl commercial airs once or twice, whatever, and then you have to
Right.
go do it. But social media, because of the algorithm rhythms, because of the feeds, it can be seen again and again. So there's
And
probably a case to be made that could be more powerful. Obviously, you're not getting the 100 million viewers, but um,
The other thing that I'm noticing too is when you go into Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you are watching something, artificial intelligence, AI is giving you more of it. It's giving you more of it. The minute you pull up something on like Johnson Murphy shoes, it's going to keep sending you more and more and more stuff on Johnson Murphy shoes. So yesterday we saw the premiere of these new commercials because it's the Super Bowl thing, but now they're just going to run as normal commercials. We're going to see those commercials again and again
some
and
are,
again.
yeah, some are.
So
All right, there's a real estate
remember
agent.
this one? It wasn't even related to beer. What's that?
Oh, sure.
Remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so there was a real estate company. Did anyone catch it?
I
What's that?
saw the yeah, there was some arms out action.
No, I didn't see those.
No, I
There
didn't
Oh,
was
you
see
a real
didn't?
that one.
estate company,
Okay.
homes.com. They
Oh,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Homes.com.
yeah.
That was actually really funny. But guess what? It got the point across. But
depends on what
it
you are
depends a point.
listening to.
But have you noticed? I don't know there's a, I'm not on, I mean, I have my free profile on Homes.com, but I'm not paying money. I'm not spending any money to utilize it. But there's an agent in our market that is utilizing it. And every time a Homes.com post that she pays for paid ad shows up on Facebook, oh my gosh, I am absolutely blown away by the amount of trolling comments people are putting on. Like, I wouldn't pay $50 for that piece of dump house, or, what's wrong with, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, when I check my real estate listing contract and it says, can we promote your house? And but when it says, do we allow comments from consumers? I always say we want to check that box. No, because we don't want any
Yep.
trollers. We don't want any trollers. But we have to say yes. Otherwise, it won't show up on Zillow for like valuation. But I'm thinking, I don't know. Now that I'm seeing the trolling comments that this particular realtor is getting when she puts properties on homes.com I'm like, I'm not doing that.
All right, any questions from clients this week? Dominic, you were on vacation, so probably didn't have a ton of things, but any questions? Otherwise, I got one. Mike, anything from a client? But Dominic,
Um, I didn't get any questions. Just, well, yeah, I did. I mean, just when is the best time to put my house back on the market?
when you're ready.
Um, and I'm like, well, and I remember saying, well, the Super Bowl is Sunday, and after the Super Bowl, it's kind of like our unofficial start to spring. I mean, I remember saying that. So what we agreed to do, because we took it off the market with some personal issues that arose, and it's currently on withheld. So I can promote it within my own brokerage for just a little teeny bit because they're going to be building a new house. And we're probably, I would assume, will be going live very shortly. Um, but, when is the best time to sell your house? When you have to, when you need to, when you want to. It's not what time of year it is.
I got a
Dominic,
question from a guy. He's looking to buy either land to build or an existing lake home that he can move into. He found a couple properties that he was interested in, but wanted to know if he could do an addition on either or both of them. And so kind of led me down to talk about well, it depends, right? There's a lot of this common answer. So what are the hard cap rules of the city? So I had to go check in with the county or the township and see what are their specific rules, how much square footage is currently being taken up, how much is left, in terms of what square footage you could add on to. But it's a lot of that. I've covered an area that's bigger than just where I live, and so sometimes I don't know the answer off the top of my head, so I got to go do a little bit of research. But I feel like I get that kind of question fairly frequently in terms of like what can I do on this property. So people are trying to understand like what are my limitations. Kind of what's the max building size before I have to get a variance or conditional use permit or something that would change the general structure of the existing structure or what you could put on the property. So that was when I got this week that I thought was interesting and can be fun to dig into that stuff and kind of get those answers for folks.
I just had one regarding pricing. How do we balance out county value, tax value, Zillow's estimate, PR, what is it, Mike? PRP, PR,
Oh, RPR, Realty Property
RPR.
Resource. Love,
RPR,
love,
I always
love, love,
forget,
love that tool.
and how
It's
does
a
the confidence scale work? You get 3 out of 5 stars. And, how do you value that? And at the end of the day, kind of goes back to prepping the house, and it goes back to pricing strategy. It goes back to a lot of factors that at the end of the day, a consumer is going to pay what they want.
Exactly. And the thing is with 5 stars op that are open for Realty Property Resource, the last training that I did take on it, because they've got a really robust training system inside that, is when there's 5 out of 5 stars illuminated, that's like the highest level of confidence you can have for that model. When 1 star is missing, it was 10% variation.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I want to just circle back really quickly about social media again, if you don't mind, because something popped into my head.
You're
So
the host, man.
with with the so when I do videos, like the one I just did that was 90 seconds that I had the photographer do agent in the video and I wanted it 90 seconds or less, and I was able to post it on my social media platforms. I started getting calls from realtors saying, "Hey, we just saw this new lot come on. These are the questions that my buyer has." And I said, "Hey, go on my Facebook page. I've got the video posted right there." And they're like, "Awesome, thank you." And they're like, "I'll send it to my buyer." And so I would get a text back from the agent. "That is such a great video. It showed the aerials. It showed everything. You talked about that there was no HOA. My buyer loved it." That is the realtor that I received an offer from yesterday for that lot. And I used that video that was posted on social media. She went to my Facebook page because I suggested go there, send it to your person, answered all their questions, boom, got an offer. It was a tool that I used to communicate. Make sense?
For sure. Yeah, I
It
think
was it was the best $325 I'd ever spent. It was marketing for me, and it helped get that property sold, in my opinion.
a lot of this ties back to the conversation we're just not to beat a dead horse, but with the Super Bowl ads, right? Prior to real estate, I worked in advertising for a little over 12 years, and video has consistently been one of the best, if not the best, branding mechanism that really cements things in consumers' mind. That's memorable, that they'll come back to, that will actually move the needle. So I think the fact that using it, even like that you just said, like it's a really concise way to communicate the benefits of a property to someone maybe that hasn't even seen it yet, in a way that they're going to remember it rather than just looking over a listing description and reading the stats, bullet lines. It's a much more interactive, engaging way to do that. I think that's a cool way to communicate.
David?
Excellent. No, I mean we're up against kind of a time thing here.
Yeah.
I don't I struggle with that because I don't know. Social media is supposed to be organic, an organic process, but how you used it, I think you nailed it on the second part of your comment about it was a tool and it was marketing, right?
It was a
Like I,
tool.
I always think of like somebody randomly scrolling or somebody following you, but an agent, I think it's a great way to do it. And unfortunately, anyone that's probably listening to this and isn't in the real estate business, they understand that we're limited what we can do on the MLS. We're
Yeah, I
limited
could
on how
not
we
put
can do
that
it.
video on
Yeah.
MLS
So
because I
that's
can't
the
have a
hard part.
person. Yeah.
Right. So it's a hard thing to do with the limitations of the MLS. And that's a whole nother conversation that I could go on for four
And I
days.
remember having I told the photographer, I said, "You know what? I'm going to be in this video because I'm going to be standing next to my sign, thanking him for tuning him in." I said, "I know 100%. I cannot put this on the MLS. I know I can't because there's a person in here and my sign is in here. But I'm doing this for social media purposes. I'm doing this to share with the other realtors. I'm doing it to share if I get a sign call, I can send them the video. And that's why I did it. And it was more effective than having it on MLS, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
All right.
We didn't
Mr.
have time for
Michael?
fast questions, but
No,
we're out of time.
that's right. Enjoy Florida. We
Thank
will
you.
see you next week. Remember the time difference for the Zoom.
Yep. But you know me, you'll have to text me because you need to keep me in line.
I always do.
Yep.
Dominic, you, I'm sure later today or tomorrow. We
That's right.
talk.
That's right.
See you guys.